In 2014, a crack toy fixer was banished from the forums for talking about repairing vintage toys. Undeterred, this man promptly set up his own YouTube channel located in the Somerset Underground. Today, still wanted by hardcore Star Wars collectors, he survives as a maverick toy restorer. If you have a problem, if no one else can help, and if you can find him, maybe toy-polloi can help you. Welcome to toy-polloi.
Hello and welcome to another video from toy-polloi. Now if you've watched some of my old videos you'll know I'm not a massive fan of graded action figures, and today I thought I would do a little bit of a test and just to see how reliable grading of vintage figures is. In front of me here you can see a selection of ones that I've got in my collection. Now these are ones that I've got in job lots and just sort of general trades. It's not something I actively collect, but I do seem to have acquired a few over the years, and some of these have been graded by a company called UK Graders in the UK and some are AFA graded from America, and each one gives it a different value and a different number depending on how good the figure is. If we take a look at this Gomorian Guard here, this was graded by UKG, so UK Graders, and this is a U grade figure, so it means that it's one that's never been out of its packet, or someone sent this in to be removed from a card and they have given it a U90 for the figure and a U85 for the paint. And this just seems to be very arbitrary what they do. The numbers seem to change just day by day, and I'm just not particularly amazed at how this process works. If we take a look at this hardhead Skeletor, now this is one I picked up off eBay. This one again got 80% for both, so it's 80% for the figure and 80% for the paint. But actually when you look at the figure, I think the figure is pretty rough condition. It's really dirty, there are chew marks on it, there's quite some bad paint scuffs on his feet and some rubs and sort of yellowing on the back of the figure, so I'm amazed that this got such a high grade. So what I wanted to do is actually send some figures into UK grading again and have them regraded just to see if they are consistent with the marks they give them. So the two figures I'm going to send in are this Skeletor and this Gomorian Guard, and before I send them in I'm actually going to smash them out of the cases so that UK graders don't know that these have already been graded, send them in and see what numbers they get, because I have a feeling that they won't get the same numbers that they got here. This one obviously won't get a U grade because it is no longer on a card, but I wouldn't have thought it will get these high scores. And this one especially, this Skeletor, I don't think is worth anywhere near this sort of grading. So it'll be very interesting to see how UK graders actually regrade these figures. And if they do change the grades, it just sort of proves my point that I don't think grading is a really worthwhile part of the hobby, because it's just an arbitrary number that someone gives to your figure. So first thing we've got to do is obviously smash open these two cases to get the figures out. But before we smash those open, I want to show you another reason why I'm not a massive fan of grading. Here we have a Chief Chirper. Now I actually again got this in a job lot, and initially you think, oh, that's a really nice Chief Chirper. He got some quite good grades. This is from AFA, so it's got an 80 near mint grade, but actually if you look at it, if I just do that to it, you can see that he has smashed out of the bottom of his blister. So really putting something this nice in a case does not protect it in any way, shape or form. They can still get damaged, as you can see, and this one is now loose essentially. It's come free of its packaging and really is no use to anyone. All you can do with this one is crack open the case and sort of display the card nicely, because like this it's just a bit of a waste of time. So let's start with this Gomorian Guard. Now I've never opened any of these cases before. I'd be interested to see how well stuck together they are. You can see there's it's all glued around the bottom. There is one surface that isn't glued on this back edge here, so I think if I just stick a knife in I should be able to crack this open, and then I'll send these off to be graded. And it is quite expensive to get these graded. I think these are about £15 for a single figure like this, and for the Skeletor figure here it's nearer £30, so it's going to be quite a lot of money just to get these two graded. But I think it's worth doing, because I really just don't see the point in getting figures graded like this. It's such an arbitrary thing, and they do charge quite a lot of money for them. So let's just test it. Maybe I'll be wrong, but we'll just have to wait and see. So I'm going to get a knife here. I'm going to stick that into the back of the box, like so, and I'm going to twist, and at some point, yeah, there we go, you can see the plastic is cracking, and I will be able to get this figure out and we'll get it sent for regrading. There we go. I think that's probably enough to get this figure out. Let's see. So there we go. This is a U-graded Gomorian Guard. We can take a close look at him. You can see he is in very nice condition, which he should be because he has never been played with. So I don't want to play with him too much. I'm just going to move that off to one side. And we'll get his weapon out, which has just been taped in with sticky tape. That's another thing I really don't like with these cases. Just a little bit of sticky tape is all that's holding these things in. I think sticky tape degrades over time as well. Let's just pull that weapon out. There we go. So there his vibro axe. Again, never been played with, so I'll just put that to one side. And now let's go on and open the Skeletor. Okay, so here is the Skeletor, and this again has been graded by UKG. You can see their sticker there, and this has been given 80%, so it's got 80% for the figure and 80% for the paint. Now this one I do think is a little bit overgraded because you can see there's some chew marks on the bottom of his staff there. There's chew marks on the back of his armour. You can actually quite clearly see there's chew marks there, and he's got some bad sort of staining on the top of his legs, and there's paint rubs as well on his feet, and it just generally looks a little bit rough. So we'll send this one off as well, but first off we've got to get it out of the box. Same trick, I'm going to put a knife in and we'll just crack around. Hopefully you can get that off with ease. This one's proving a little bit harder to do. That's better this side. There we go. So I think that should get the figure out. I don't want to touch these figures too much because I don't want to add any sort of damages to them, because it really is a test of just to get them graded. So there is the Skeletor figure. You can see I'm not going to touch that much because we're just going to send that in to be graded as is. And we now need to get the weapons out again, stuck in with sellotape. So let's just cut that bit of sellotape there. Hopefully that'll be enough to... There we go, and there's the staff. As you can see, I think there's chew marks on the bottom of that. Certainly not a mint item. And we'll get his weapon out as well. There you go. Again, there might be chew marks on the handle, or at least some damage to the handle. Yeah, just a little bit. So we'll get these wrapped up and sent them back to UKG for grading a second time. Okay, so here are the figures all ready to send off to UK graders. I've packed them up in lots of bubble wrap and made sure I've not touched them a great deal, so they are as close to being just out of these graded boxes as they can be. It takes about 8 weeks for these figures to be graded, so once they return I will unpack them and we'll see what grades they get. So just have to make sure. If it's the same as this, then they're doing a very good job, and I think I'm wrong. If they are different to this, then I do believe that there is something up with this system, and it's not one that I sort of think is worth doing. So we'll just have to wait and see. In 8 weeks' time, I will find out the results and see whether I've spent my money wisely.
toy-polloi.
Well, welcome back. It's now 8 weeks later and I've just received this box in the post, which is the 2 graded figures having been returned by UK graders. So let's just sort of get straight onto it. I'm going to open up this box and we'll take a look and see what the figures look like and what grades they got. Open this up. Okay, so the packets are out now. I've got the old cases here so we can see what the grades are, and we can now just sort of go ahead and open this pack and we'll sort of do a comparison. I'm very interested to see what sort of scores these get. If they're the same, then that sort of shows that grading does work, and if they're different, then that sort of makes it a sort of interesting test to do. So let's first start with the Gomorian Guard. So I'm just going to open this up, take it out of the bit of plastic that it's in, and we can see, so here we have the Gomorian Guard, and it got scores of, it got 90 for the figure and 85 for the paint, which gives it a grand total of 85. And if we look at the original one here, you can see actually that is exactly the same score. So there you go, that one is a consistent bit of grading. We have the same scores from the figure that I sent in. Obviously the only difference is that this was a U graded figure originally and now it is not. But so there you go, that one, very consistent grading. We've got the same scores as I sent it in. It has come back with the same scores there. So let's have a look at Skeletor. Now this was the figure I thought was a bit sort of overgraded because it looked a little bit sort of rough around the edges. Let's see what he looks like. Again, let's just take off the plastic cutter so that we can see this in more detail. I've not looked at the numbers yet, I'm keeping that as a surprise. So there we have Skeletor graded. It's a slightly bigger case and he got numbers of, he got 80 for the figure and 85 for the paint, which gives it a grand total of 80%. And the one that we sent in originally, oh well, this one is slightly different. So he was 80 for the figure and 80 for the paint. So somehow the paint has improved with me sending this in. We've got a slightly better score. So there is a little bit of variation going on there, which is a bit odd. I thought this would actually get a lower grade, but it's actually managed to somehow score a higher grade, even though absolutely nothing has changed from when I sent it in. So what can we conclude from this? I'm going to say on these Star Wars figures we can say that they're actually fairly consistent with the grades that they give, because this did get exactly the same score as the one I sent in. So they obviously know what they're doing, you know, when it comes to this. I still think these figures will degrade over time, so what score you get on here now is not necessarily what it's going to be in sort of 5 to 10 years time. So I think it might be an idea to put a date on here of when these figures were graded. The interesting one for me though is this Skeletor, because as you saw I took it out of the case, did absolutely nothing to it, but the paint has come back with a better score. I know it's only a 5% difference, but when it comes to grading at this sort of level, a 5% difference can make quite a lot of difference in how much this figure is worth. So I'm interested to know how this got a better scoring when I did absolutely nothing to it. You saw me remove it from this case and you can see clearly here that the paint got an 80% there, if I can just get that to focus. So it's figure 80, paint 80. But when it was sent in and we got it back again, the paint has somehow improved. So that does make it a little bit sort of interesting to me, just because I do think that this is a very personal sort of scoring system. It depends on who is doing it and what sort of day they're having as to how a figure is going to get a score. So 5% difference can make a great deal of money difference if you're going to be buying and selling these figures. So I still think grading is a little bit of a dubious sort of thing to get done to your figures. I can understand why some people like having it done, but for me it just seems a little bit of a waste of money. And to get these two figures graded has cost me almost £60. So for that £60 I could have bought a lot more figures and had a lot more fun with my collection. So really I'm going to leave it up to you whether you think it's worth getting figures graded. I don't. I still think there's too much of a sort of a risk of variation in the scores that people are giving to them. Obviously with the Gomorian Guard, that's actually quite impressive that it's got the same scores, but a little bit dubious because of this Skeletor having a different score. I still think this one has been overgraded. I don't think it's in that good condition, but the fact the paint has improved when nothing has been done to it is just a little bit strange. So I hope you found this video interesting, and if you want to see more of my videos, then make sure to hit the subscribe button and click the bell to be notified each time I upload a video. And thanks for watching.
Thanks for watching toy-polloi. Subscribe for more great videos. You can also follow toy-polloi on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram.